Hey, what's up? So Euro Truck Simulator 2 update 157 just dropped, and I want to walk you through everything that actually matters in a way that feels I'm explaining it to a friend who's fired up the game and wants the nitty-gritty before hitting the road. This patch is a proper one. It's not just a handful of small tweaks. It refreshes an entire region, adds some new vehicle features, changes how certain cargo behaves, and introduces visual and interface work that you'll notice the second you load a save. The Scandinavia area has been given a proper facelift. Think updated road geometry, refreshed vegetation, reworked rest areas and fuel stations, and a general polish that reduces weird road junctions and odd visual seams. If you've been driving through those northern roads for years, you'll see more believable landscapes and cleaner transitions between towns and highways, which makes long hauls feel less like driving through a patchwork and more like driving through a purpose-built map. On the vehicle front, there's some pretty tasty stuff, especially for Scania fans. The update brings official Scania R and S truck updates, including Super and 770 paint jobs, sensor-equipped fenders, and new smart dash interiors in several variants that change how the cabin feels visually. Those additions aren't just cosmetic. They add new customization layers and cabin options that are going to be popular in screenshots and live streams. And they also mean modders will have a little homework to keep their truck packs compatible. The attention on the Scania models is noticeable. SCS clearly put effort into both visual fidelity and the customization pipeline for those trucks. Arguably, one of the more system-level changes is the introduction of dynamic cargo loading and unloading. The way cargo appears and is handled at source and destination points has been reworked to make loads behave more realistically, which impacts how trailers are spawned, how weight distribution can be perceived, and how special cargo jobs play out. This is one of those changes that can be subtle at first. A handful of deliveries will test the new system, but over time, it alters the feel of the job economy and how you plan hauls, especially the heavier or special transports. Expect to notice differences in how cargo spawns and how the game calculates certain route constraints. On the visual and UX side, there's HDR support, which is a big deal for people running modern monitors and aiming for cinematic screenshots. HDR makes lighting pop more realistically, but it also means you'll likely want to tweak brightness and in-game HDR sliders, because it can make interiors or scenes feel too bright or washed out until you find the right settings. Alongside HDR, there are interface and usability tweaks. Cursor navigation has been improved, and the company logos and paint job systems have been reworked, so your garage and company visuals are crisper and behave more predictably. These feel like small touches, but when combined, they tighten up the presentation in a way that's noticeable during long sessions. DLC and legacy content weren't ignored. Older packs, especially those tied to the Scandinavia region and certain trailer packs, received refreshes so they match the newer map standards and visual pipeline. That means assets from those packs may look cleaner and integrate better with the rest of the world, but it also raises the usual compatibility flags. If you run map mods, truck packs, or trailer mods that touch the same areas or files, you should expect authors to push updates. In practice, this often means checking tool pages or community threads before you re-enable a big mod collection, because map overhauls and truck model updates are the usual culprits behind crashes or invisible objects after a major patch. There are also a bunch of smaller but practical changes tucked into the release notes. Tweaks to special transport behavior, updates to trailer packs, reworked company logo handling, and various bug fixes and performance improvements across multiple regions. You'll see certain AI interactions adjusted during convoys or tricky maneuvers, and special transport jobs have had their scripts and checks refined, so those wide loads behave more reliably on narrow roads. The patch bundles a lot of fixes that cumulatively reduce oddities like stuck AI traffic, misplaced trailers, or mismatched POI markers that longtime players have reported. From a creator or streamer perspective, this is one of those updates that refreshes familiar content while giving you new visuals and truck options to show off. The Scandinavia refresh alone provides new backdrops for route-based videos, and the Scania cabin updates open up neat interior camera shots. For viewers, subtle HDR lighting changes and improved rest stops make background scenery feel less repetitive. For players who pride themselves on mod suites and heavily customized garages, the most relevant part of the patch is compatibility. Expect a short period where mod authors update their packs, and factor that in before you go re-enabling everything in your mod manager. Performance-wise, the official notes mention various optimizations and bug fixes. Nothing that suggests sweeping engine changes, but enough housekeeping to smooth out rough edges in the refreshed areas. If you run HDR or heavily modded setups, it's a good idea to check GPU drivers, and maybe dial down one or two graphics settings if you spot any stuttering after the update, since new visual features can push the load a bit higher on certain rigs. All in all, this update is a meaningful step forward for the game's presentation and for the Scania lineup. And the cargo and DLC refreshes keep the simulation side evolving. If you enjoy taking scenic long hauls, paying attention to the updated Scandinavia routes, will be rewarding. And if you're into truck customization, the Scania editions are worth exploring.